All right, Coach Theus.
Yes, sir.
Troy White, Fat Mouth Sports. First off, huge fan back in the day, Magic
There you
fan,
go.
so huge fan. We're fan oriented, and a lot of times people want to know your early conference schedule.
Mhm.
What do you look to learn from your team in that early conference or early season non-conference schedule?
Great question. Our schedule is going to be really tough. Texas Tech, Virginia, West Virginia, Nebraska. We've got playing a tournament in Cancun. When you have 11 new players, you're looking for that camaraderie. You're looking for some cohesion, and you're trying to build that through your non-conference schedule so that you're more prepared when the regular season starts. We'll be battle tested. That is for sure.
So, before I get to the second question, with your rival in Tallahassee bringing in a new head coach,
Yeah.
do you look forward to those battles coming in this season?
Every rival game is always fun, and there's a common thread that that's our sister school. We battle hard, football and basketball. We talk a lot of trash. Underneath it all, it's all love, But going back to when you're in high school, college, having the rival. When you were a kid, you had a rival lived around the corner. Your rival lived up the street. And you fought your rival like he was your brother. But when it's all said and done, there's an affinity for each other, and there's a love there. But we make it fun, man. And still, nobody wants to lose to that school in Tallahassee.
So, with us being fan oriented, it's always important to us to know what Wildcat Nation can do to help the team win on home games.
When you start talking about building a program at an HBCU, you start building. We've had to go through a lot with our alumni, rebuilding our alumni, our relationships and things. It's really about money. It's really about supporting the programs, and really, not just putting your love for the sport and your school, but putting your dollars behind it. And that's the hardest part when it comes to us. When I talk about us,
Yep.
We don't give. And I think that one of the things that has to happen for us to get better, if you don't support the university financially, it won't win, because our budgets are never going to be big enough. And you can talk about it in any way you want. You can be politically correct, but when it's all said and done, support financially is what they can do most. And then of course come to the games. Wear your colors.
Well, Coach, thank you for coming to Fat Mouth Sports. I will be reaching out to specifically you with your dual role to get you on the show later in the season. Thank you for stopping by.
Pleasure. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Man, I'm not even going to front. I love that interview. I absolutely love that interview. That is probably
that was definitely a great one. Definitely a good one.
No, this dude is a shooter. He's just at that school in Daytona. And it's just like, man. And TP wanted to point out, it was hard for you to say Wildcats. But no, that's a hero. Definitely a hero. For everybody here, thank you for watching another edition of the Madness Basketball Podcast. Myself, TP, DK. We have a special guest. Liv will be here tonight. She will be here in our second hour. So stay tuned. That's going to be great. Today was MEAC Basketball Media Day. ESPN. Those athletes have personality. You need to find people to pull that personality out of them. Because when I tell you it was a snooze fest, it was a snooze fest. And maybe y'all do need to get Liv to do the Women's Basketball Media Day. Just a thought. She does the research. She was a player. She knows the coaches. You gotta spice it up. You gotta spice it up. And I find it interesting that of the mid majors, because it's not FCS and in FCS and FBS in basketball, but the mid majors, ESPN made sure to highlight MEAC and SWAC media days. So, you know, it is what it is. But I wanted to introduce a new segment this week because things happen in the real world, and we be so focused in the sports world that things happen in the real world, and sometimes you just got to hear me out. And so I just want y'all to hear me out on a little subject. All right. So, for all of those who don't follow a lot of pop news or social media, Cardi B and her ex-husband have been going at it on Twitter. And it's been getting spicy. It's been getting kind of spicy. And normally, you don't want to be looking at other people's relationship issues in public. But this funny. This it's like real funny. And if you get into a war with your wife, ex-wife, baby mama, please understand. You think you going low? Let me show you how you get drugged to hell. Let me show you how you get drugged to hell.
Cardi B's been on one for the last week.
Yeah, with Offset.
There's one tweet I saw that blew my mind. Let's take Cardi out of this and let's take Offset out of this. Let's say you're beefing with a ting and she tweet and publicly, I know you wouldn't, but let's just say you're beefing publicly. She's run a couple bars on you. It's looking even Stevens and she drops this tweet. I'm not arguing with a I put fingers in.
I'm going to be very careful on what I say next. I'll say it. Put your phone down. I ain't heard nothing about no response. Don't respond to that. Do not respond. You can no longer win. You can't win. You can't win.
So, at that point, you gotta.
And I want to be clear. I'm not kink shaming nobody. Your thing is your thing. I'm not judging nobody. I'm just saying, once you get into a war and she drags you to hell, sometimes the better part of valor is walking away. Don't listen to Outkast on this one. Don't listen to Outkast on this one. You need to turn the other cheek. Just turn the other cheek, because apparently she done slapped all your cheeks, so you just need to leave it alone. It's not good. It's not good. All right, fellas. Tonight kicks off the NHL season, where that team in Sunrise, Florida will start the defense of their world championship. We lost to Sunrise in the playoffs. And it's not going to sit well with me. Just not. But NHL season kicks off. Alexander Ovechkin this season has a chance with 42 goals to break the unbreakable record.
Really? Oh, that's my guy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he was that close. He's not going to get it, though. He's gonna get like 20 to 30. He's gonna need another year, and that's if he can do that another year. But he's gonna need another year. Dang, bro. 42. Does he got one more great year in him?
Word on the street is he looked real good in camp, but father time is father time.
He got it. He probably got in that LeBron cryo chamber or whatever the hell, and got right. He probably reached out and was like, "Hey, Bron, look, man, how you doing it right now, man? I gotta know.
I gotta stand on business. I gotta stand on business. Had he had a couple more Stanley Cups, I would feel different. But also, nobody celebrated the Stanley Cup like Alexander Ovechkin. I'm sorry. He stayed drunk. That's my guy. Every social media post, he was drinking out the cup.
Yo,
not wrong. He not wrong, but I just, I figured after, week 3 of that summer, he would be good. But he had got over the hump. I don't know. Sidney Crosby. I think Sidney Crosby got his championship before him. But he was fun to watch after he won, definitely. But if he passes it, I'm gonna have mixed feelings about it. He deserves it. He played a very long time. He deserves it, but I'm still gonna have mixed feelings because the great one is the great one, and so. But Wayne Gretzky is one of the analysts for ESPN Hockey, so it's going to be interesting to watch Alex go ahead and break that record. Also, we're in NBA preseason, and Bronny and LeBron played together
for a little bit.
I am still uncomfortable critiquing that young man's game. I don't. I've always said once they're out of college, they're grown and we treat them as grown men. But when I look at him, I still look at him as he missed a year because he had some heart issues. So he's only played some games in college. He's still in development. We don't know if he's a combo, is he a point, is he a 2? We don't know what he is yet. And so everything is developmental. Also, how he ended up on the Lakers, kind of how he ended up on the Lakers, kind of, I don't like how he ended up on the Lakers. But at the same time, Fortune 500 companies, there's nepotism. Why not nepotism here? I don't know how I can critique this yet. Like, hopefully they send him down to the G League for assignment. But, we'll see.
We'll see. I think we'll definitely see. It's only been a couple of games. We know that he's not supposed to play a bigger role in the grand scheme of the Lakers team right now. So it's fine, bro. It's fine. It is preseason basketball. That's what it's there for people to get ready. It's there for them to try things out. You're not in the season yet, so it is what it is. I'm not here to make anything of it. They said they have now, I guess, come out and said that he's going to be on the roster. He's been open to playing in the G League, but I don't think that that's what they said that their plan is for him anyways. So he's gonna. It is what it is. He's gonna have these couple years. After that, then we'll see. We'll reevaluate then. But cool.
I'm waiting on when the players go to him and be like, "You need to tell your daddy to pick it up."
there ain't gonna ever be a time like that. They just not.
What if Bronny is LeBron's rookie? He won't ever get no peace. You get hazed on the way to work and on the way home. What you gonna say? My daddy get on my nerves.
Yeah.
Oh God. Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with my computer. It keeps losing signal. Like it's like I don't know. It
Yeah,
just
it
keeps.
looks like it's fighting for his life over there.
But I have no idea.
Tonight I am plugged in. So based on this performance up to now, I will be plugged in from here on out.
I'm plugged in. That's the problem.
Oh wow, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, I had to get on my phone. They do a Wi-Fi, I guess. Yeah, what can you do?
Yeah. Hey, well, we here, goddamn. We here.
Oh yeah. So I missed everything that you was talking about.
Well, I talked about, Bronny playing with Braun. I mean, you tell me how you feel, TP, because I don't know how to feel about it.
Well, first of all, it ain't LeBron Jr. We're gonna start there. His name is Bronny. And I don't have a problem with it.
I mean, Brian.
We said this from the beginning that it was gonna be, a spectacle. His son has never played with his father in the NBA. So this is a first. It's groundbreaking. Will it be the last? We don't know. If you want your kids to be in the NBA with you, gotta have them early. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you go out there and just shoot up in the first thing you see walking, but you gotta also have a long career, which LeBron has had. He came straight out of high school. One of the last few to come straight into the league from high school. And he's had a Hall of Fame career. Some say he's the greatest to ever do it. Some say it's still Michael. Some have other, reservations about the situation. But at the end of the day, he is in a role where he can really mentor his son on the next step of his career.
While still playing.
Yeah, while still playing. Like he's in the locker room with them. Is that going to affect the way Bronny acts? Probably. Dad is watching. Dad is right there. You can't do, there are limits of freedom, I would say, when you have to live under the same rules at home as you do in the locker room. So now, I don't know if that's necessarily healthy because there are ways that you need to grow as a man where you don't need somebody holding your hand. So, for what it is, I like that he has this opportunity. I like that for them, but I also understand the negative aspects. And I'm not talking about the way he plays the game. I'm talking about the lifestyle around it. Because your dad is right there. Like you can't, when you leave and go off to college, your dad wasn't there. But he was because you was at USC, so you was going home every night. When are you going to get out on your own and flap your own wings? You got to leave the nest at some point if you want to truly soar with the Eagles. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, Danny. I'm completely, as long as he don't sleep with Scottie Pippen, the ex-wife, I think he's doing all right.
Oh my God, you out of pocket. You out of pocket.
I just,
We'll see, man. It's only 2 games. He's got to develop. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I honestly like. I think he's in a good situation. Even if he has to go to, even if he has to go to, even if he has to go to the G League, I think he's good. I really do. I think he's good. But I should have probably led with this. The New York Jets are literally the worst franchise in the history of the NFL.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
It's the Browns.
No, the Panthers are right up there with them.
Yeah, yeah. Agreed.
Okay, so the Panthers been to a Super Bowl in my lifetime.
Sure.
Who was the quarterback?
Jake Delhomme.
Alone. Yeah.
But they've been. So y'all see, Aaron Rodgers is a problem. He is a locker room cancer.
He might be. But the thing is, like, all right, I feel like right now, when you look at the landscape of the NFL, this is not the landscape, or this is not the NFL we had 10, not even 5 years ago, I feel like, to be honest. We don't really have even decent quarterback play. Let's be honest. There's probably you could take a handful of guys and be like, yeah, they're okay. They're not great. Then you could probably dumb that down and say that there's maybe 2 to 3 that are great right now, consistently.
Mm.
I feel like in the early 2000s or like, yeah, like 2000s, 2010s. Yeah, Rivers, Breeze, the Mannings. Like, there was consistent quarterback play that we could look to. It almost like I feel like we got I don't know what I'm looking for, but like we just got too comfortable with seeing that type of quarterback play, and now we don't got it. And Aaron Rodgers is actually still one of those guys. So despite whether he's a cancer or not right now, yeah, right now you need him. You need him.
You know, I don't agree with that sentiment.
In the sense of what?
I don't agree that quarterback play is at an all-time low. I cannot agree with that. You know, I get it. We don't have Peyton Manning. We don't have Drew Brees. But the NFL,
all-time low, but
we don't have those quarterbacks right now because, honestly, I don't know if they would survive with how the game has changed.
No, yeah, absolutely. Due to their inability to be able to be mobile. I agree, but in the sense that, like, what I'm saying, like, I feel like we're not getting that sense of quarterbacks being cerebral and learning the game and being able to dissect the defenses and things like that and do things quick. I don't think that we have that in the NFL, right? That's the part of being a quarterback that I don't think that we have right now. And so I feel like due to their inexperience.
What does being cerebral have to do with immobility and defenders actually being able to stay with these receivers in man coverage? There's nothing cerebral about a lot of what teams are doing on defense. So there isn't a cerebral way to beat them. They are getting dominated because their receivers can't get open. They're playing man coverage. Quarterbacks look down the field. Nobody's open. Then they have to escape the pocket. There are quarterbacks that have been able to find ways around that. Like, look at the way Jaden Daniels has played. They utilize the run game. What we stopped doing somewhere around 2016, 2017, they stopped focusing on running the ball. And we went with these air it out type offenses. And then defenses adjusted now we're playing too deep and we're going to make you run the ball, but y'all done focus so much on passing that the run game has been lost. The value of running backs has went down to the point where they don't want to pay guys. You got a running back in the system that he ain't never played in. This is his first year playing in it. The run game isn't established off rip. So these DBs are just sitting back and looking at the quarterback and waiting for the ball to be thrown, because they know that that's what 90% of these offenses want to do. The teams that are finding success this year have an ability to run the ball. Look at the Chiefs. Even without Isaiah Pacheco, they still find a way to run the ball. The Detroit Lions have been dominating the trenches for years. And they were probably 2 plays away from being in the Super Bowl last year. Look at how the 49ers play football. It is smash mouth. They run the ball, they set up the pass down the field. That is the success. And the quarterback has suffered visually because defenses are more prone to playing the pass. They're not playing the run. So naturally, the quarterbacks are going to struggle when the focus is to stop the pass.
Right. I get that. But again, Brock Purdy was a rookie too once, right? And he got thrown into the fire. And yes, the scheme that team had was based on the run. And yes, that team was very good. But the difference in the way that I feel like you could look at his gameplay and his tape and the way that he was looking at the field and dissecting the field and the reads that he was making and in the passes that he was throwing, they were on the money. I can't say the same for Trevor. I can't say the same for some of these other guys.
No, they have been abysmally bad in certain points of the game. Will Levis,
Zach Wilson. There's a number of young guys that also don't have no jobs no more.
They've all really struggled against the pass. But that happens every year, and it's happened since the beginning of time. There are some quarterbacks that just cannot throw the ball against a good pass defense. And if every team has a good pass defense, guess what? Those quarterbacks that can't get it done, they're going to look extremely bad. It is going to be tough sledding every week. But I want to take this time to think about the great teams of the past. They all played defense. The Chiefs during this run, they have had Steve Spagnuolo calling defense at a very high level. The Patriots, as much as we talk about Tom Brady, there is no Tom Brady if that defense is terrible. If there's no Willie McGinnis, if there's no Mark Vrabel, if there's no Tom Law, Teddy Bruschi, there is no Tom Brady. That defense gave him the opportunity to go win games late. You wonder why Peyton don't have as many rings as Tom Brady? Because he never had a defense. They had a good pass rush. They had okay secondary, but they couldn't consistently stop the run. And Peyton Manning got ran right out of the playoffs multiple occasions. Mm-hmm. So even with the ability to dissect the defense, what you gonna do when your defense can't stop a nosebleed?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. When we're talking team aspect and all that, yeah, all that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just specifically talking about because I don't know. I guess on Sundays, I could tell the difference between, and even Jared Goff. And even Jared Goff has always been that way, though. Despite the way that I feel like people perceived him at a point in time in his career, he's always made good reads and delivered the ball well, consistently. At the very least, he's always been average. But I feel like
he's been above average. I'll give him above average.
But that's what I'm saying. Now he's considered to being above average because of the guys that we have now, is what I'm saying. And yes, I know that a lot of those guys are young and he's had a lot of years under his belt, all that type of stuff. I get all that.
You know what Jared Goff don't see 90% of games? 2 deep safeties.
Right, because they got to respect the run. I get it.
You have to respect the run. And that's my point. You making Jared Goff look like a Hall of Famer because he's playing against single high all game because they worried about David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. He had a 97% completion percentage against the Seahawks, who was supposedly playing good defense this year. They couldn't stop the run. And when you can't stop the run with a decent quarterback, he is going to pick your defense apart because now your linebackers are stepping up instead of dropping back. Now your safety has to play more close to the line of scrimmage, and he can't just focus on the pass. He has to have his eyes in the backfield. You run out of options when you can't stop the run. You cannot dominate the trenches. You are going to struggle. And that's on both sides of the ball. If your defense is just giving it up the middle, they can't stop a nosebleed. Now what you got to do, you got to bring safeties up. Oh, my corners are left alone, so now we have to blitz because not only do I have them in the box, now I have to blitz because the pressure ain't getting there because the linebackers are still worried about the run. They can't just zoom in there to go get the quarterback. They can't drop back in the pass coverage because if they do, the running back is going to come right up the middle on a draw or inside zone. So the only option is a zone blitz. You have to send heat. You have to get somebody accounting for the running back. It's like it's a game of chess. It's a game of chess.
Like we know. Exactly.
Yeah. And the teams that can establish the line of scrimmage and can run the ball, they are the ones that's dominating this year. We're really getting back to old school football tonight. They talking about the pass, the pass this. You got what's the scout name? I can't think of his name. He said we need to ban too deep coverage. Hey, look here, man. You go back 30 years, they went about 35 times ago. Never passed for 4,000 yards in a season, but he's the Hall of Famer with 4 rings. Do you really think that matters?
No.
Joe Montana sliced up too deep. What are we talking about?
And look, and they had to run too deep because you got Jerry Rice on the outside.
So, like what you gonna do?
So please go single with Jerry Rice. They had to just take their lumps with Roger Craig up the middle. They couldn't just sit back and bring a safety down into the box because I promise you bring a safety down into the box against Jerry Rice and leave him in 1-on-1 with somebody other than Dion, it is over with. And guess what? There wasn't too many Deons back in that day. We got a lot of guys that match that athleticism right now playing in the NFL, playing the cornerback position.
Uh-oh. Hold on, wait. Hold on, DK, because I know where you're going. I know where you're going.
The disrespect segment.
Tell you who ain't doing it, Sauce Gardner. Get your off of the Yeah, we here. Y'all lost that game. You know how many holding and illegal contact penalties they called on him during that game? I counted. But you know how many times he held Justin Jefferson? Every play.
Every time.
Every play.
Oh, God.
Talking about from jump. Blew my parlay. I needed Justin Jefferson to catch a touchdown. But we can't get that because every time he came off the line, they grabbed him. Didn't care.
Hey, you know who was playing good ball though? DJ Reed.
He was holding.
But there was some plays where he was guarded straight up and he got a swat. There was one time he got a penalty, and I don't think he should have got the penalty. And I thought it was a good play.
With makeup call when he grabbed him.
Oh, stop it, bro. Oh, stop it. And they was holding every play too. Stop it. So like we ain't gotta go there.
I don't know
on the O-line every play.
Jets were trained to grab receivers the way they do, but it's not good coaching. And if you continue to let your corners do that, then I have to blame the coach at some point. Oh, I can't even do that now because the coach ain't got a job. But what we gonna do? We gonna upgrade the defensive coordinator who's supposed to be in charge of the bullshit that we're seeing. Is the team gonna be better?
Oh, now that's gonna be something.
Was it Robert Saleh's decision making, or was it poor play by Aaron Rodgers and your corners holding every play and getting countless defensive holding, illegal contact, and pass interference penalties called on them? Whose fault was it? We can blame the head.
I
He knew I was going with it too. He knew it. He already knew where this was going.
Because I've been working with TP long enough where he finna take that shot. I just let him go on here and get it off.
You know who is the best corner in the league? Patrick Surtain Jr. or the second. Patrick Surtain the second. It's the best corner. And it's not even close. It's not even close. I like Jair. You know, Stingley is my guy. He a Texan. But PS2.
You know why I'm pissed off, TP? You know why I'm pissed off? Here's why I'm pissed off.
Because we don't run the ball in the red zone? Go ahead.
My quarterback threw a pick six. Got pancaked. We lost to the Denver Broncos, who this year will probably be offense will be so offensive it will probably set the forward pass backwards about 15 years.
Well, this is still the disrespect segment, right? Because that's a shot for both Knicks.
Hey,
I ain't
winning
saying
football games.
how you gonna keep a 95-year-old rookie upright if you let him throw 50 times a game? You got
because he only throwing about 3 yards a pass, so he good.
But he only throwing 15 times a game.
Hey,
and we can't.
Good stuff with those boys.
I got a wide receiver that run a 4.4, shifty as hell. I got a tight end that's probably the best tight end in the league. And I got porn stash who can't get him the ball.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, this team ain't.
Any other coach, I will be on the plane and ready to fight. I'm not finna.
No, you ain't fighting him.
No, this, you know what? It's just gonna be yes sir, no sir. I'm gonna go on back to my seat. I feel like he in a rock and a hard place though, because what coach wants them to trade their best player? Like, I'm not trading my dog. And knowing that outside of the injuries, I'm a quarterback away. All I need is a quarterback. And now they talking about, because everybody know Tay don't want to be there. It went from a second round pick to they talking about third round pick. On God. On God. If y'all trade this man after we done extended him and paid him for a third round pick, that third round pick better come with some cash. This better be an Al Davis deal. A third round pick and $20 million, something.
I mean,
tell me something.
We traded away DeAndre Hopkins right in his prime. I get it. What the Raiders have to do. So first of all, they didn't develop Devontae Adams. They were gifted him from the Packers to begin with. He left that situation with everything that was going on with the coach, the quarterback. It wasn't a good fit, right?
We extended him.
I get that. It wasn't a good fit. However you look at it, it ended up not being a good fit. He comes to Las Vegas, right? And he's expected to be the savior of a wide receiving core that had been abysmal for years. They went out and they drafted the speedy Henry Ruggs, thinking that he was going to be the next guy. And the off the field issues have derailed his career. So what do? Instead of trying to draft again, they bring in a veteran, somebody who has been dominant in the league for a long time. The Raiders have to develop their own players. If you sit there and you try to pick the market apart, trying to pull in the next guy, it's going to be a long road. I like what the Jags did. They went and got Brian Thomas. I thought Brian was the best receiver in this draft. And you can go back and quote me on because I spoke about this weeks and months leading up to the draft. I thought he was literally the best receiver in the draft. I thought he was better than Malik Neighbors because they have the same skill set, but he's just bigger. Honestly. And Rome Odunze hasn't shown an ability to separate. And until he does that, he is going to struggle. And I didn't see it in Washington, which is why I don't know why he was rated above Malik Neighbors. Well, he wasn't rated above Malik Neighbors, but he was rated above Brian Thomas, and I didn't understand it. Hell, I took Keon Coleman. I don't think Keon Coleman is getting the opportunities that he's warranted.
Ooh.
But that's another topic. You got Josh Allen throwing him the ball. But I don't know. The Raiders have to do a better job of in-house development. That is where they have failed a lot of players. And then they go to other teams and they excel.
All right. And again, fans, apologies. We're going to get into some basketball, but there's some topics here that we need to hit on. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence need to start getting some smoke. They have underperformed their talent. They were supposed to be the next crop of superstars. And Joe Burrow is still living on that one Super Bowl run, bro. Y'all done started 0-3 0-2 a few seasons in a row now.
You know what they had when they went to the Super Bowl? A running game and a defense.
But you don't like Eli Apple.
You blow. I did not like Eli Apple. I like Eli Apple. I like Jermaine Pratt. I like Logan, Trey Hendrickson. I like their ability to get after the quarterback without blitzing. That is always a recipe for success. If I can get to your quarterback and I ain't got to send more than 4, that tell me I'm doing something right. And they had an ability to run the ball. They're not doing that extremely well right now. Zach Moss and Chase Brown are not like they're decent. You know what I mean? Like they can produce, but it ain't to the level that Joe Mixon was producing by himself.
Yeah.
Hey, where's Joe at right now?
He's coming off of his ankle sprain.
With Texas.
He's getting healthy while our team is still winning.
Yeah.
That's what we need. We don't need. He been running around in practice, looking like he ain't suffered a major ankle injury.
Right. He needed to chill
Like,
out.
he is a dog. I saw when he came back in the game. If I'd have got folded up the way he got folded up, I would have been in a boot that day.
That hour.
that minute. Put the tent without a boot. And he comes back on the field. I thought the season was like the way it looked. I thought his was gone. Ankle ligaments, toe. I thought it was bad. I thought it was worse than what it ended up being for him. But I am happy that he has been able to nurse his injury and, attempt to come back at 100% because we don't need him at 60% now and 40% come playoff time. That's not going to help us in the long run. If we're able to still go out there and win football games, then we need him to be as healthy as possible when it's time for him to make his return to the field. But you talking about Joe Burrow, they defense is abysmal. You're up 38-28 with 8 minutes left in the game and you lose. That's 1, a coaching issue, and then 2, the defense has to make plays. I can't see my DNs get out there getting the stiff arm by a quarterback, and then him alley-ooping a pass into the end zone.
Like that was ridiculous, and that happened one too many times in that same game. It almost happened 3 times, I think.
Yeah, like
different times.
As
So
good as Lamar is, that cannot happen.
you know what? You know what? I'm finna do it. I'm finna do it. Hear me out. All right? Hear me out. Okay. It wasn't just the fact Lamar they are not expecting Lamar stiff arming them because they prepared themselves physically for King Henry to stiff arm them. So when that happens, you looking over at the sideline like, Coach, this wasn't in the scout. This wasn't in the scouting report. What's going on?
I can't try to catch him and try to tackle him while he's stiff arming me, man.
It's because you go from contain, help, send help. I'm sorry.
But I will say, the aura around Lamar Jackson's greatness, it comes from his ability to break tackles. We've never seen a quarterback that can break tackles like him. And I don't mean outrunning people or juking them like Michael Vick did. I'm talking about the sheer ability to break tackles. I get it. Ben Roethlisberger was good at, slide, like taking hits, and you know what I mean? He was a big guy. It was hard to bring him down. But not like Lamar. Lamar got so many. He can juke you. He can spin. Now we got the stiff arm in the pocket. Like, I don't want to see that on Madden. I don't want my D stiff to the ground and the quarterback throwing dots down the field. I do not need that in my life. He is one of a kind. He is one of a kind, truly.
Oh man! All right, this weekend was almost joyful, almost joyful, and I'm just, you know what, TP, we got to talk about Alabama.
Ha! That's what I have to say for the whole city of Tuscaloosa. Ha! Number one in the first place.
Don't worry, y'all next. Y'all next, TP. Don't worry about it. Y'all have y'all day.
So hold on. This is what happens. This is what happens when you have a media rights deal. Then make sure you get your money.
$6 million. I wanted it nickels and dimes.
It is. You know what $60 million can do for the Nashville School of Engineers? They actually think they are a real football team. They believe they are a football team. And Sean said that, oh no, they got some players out there. They got some pieces. And they do. They have some 3 stars. Let me tell you something. A line full of 3 and 2 star recruits should not be manhandling 5 stars and 4 stars from Alabama. Somebody has got to learn to defend the option. This ain't complicated. It is just option football. But we don't teach that no more. So now you got...
This is the Boer's fault. That's how you say his name, right? The Boer.
Yeah.
Because I didn't see an adjustment.
It wasn't no adjustment. It was no adjustment. They was running a modified wing T the whole game.
Mm-hmm. And what we ended up with was this no-name quarterback yelling at reporters like he knew they could do it. Look, I don't care how much confidence you got, but Vanderbilt should not even be able to be on the same field as Alabama. This is no disrespect to them. This is no, like, you got to hear me. You got to take it for what I'm saying. This is a team that was already 2-2. So they lost to lesser opponents than Alabama, if you want to think about it like that. The teams that have beat them can't beat Alabama.
Right.
They should not have been able to be on the same field. That would have never happened in a Nick Saban coached Alabama team. That never happened, by the way. In his 17 years, that never happened.
TP, in the beginning of the season, Nick Saban on ESPN said, the one place you don't worry about playing is Vandy.
They took that personal. They took it personal.
They came out and hit him in the mouth. And look, you would think that this Alabama team would know something about getting hit in the mouth because that's what Georgia did when they came storming back. You should have been looking like, hey, teams got fight. The way we played in the first half of that game is how we should approach every game. When we go back and look at tape, too many times we get caught up looking at all the things we did bad. Let's take some time to look at what we did right and duplicate that, because that is how you build success. That is how you train your team to win. We don't train them to fix mistakes. Yes, you don't want to make the same mistakes, but you also want to duplicate success. They didn't do that. They got hit early.
I ain't gonna take too many more shots at Alabama.
I'll take shots the rest of the year. Yeah. They almost blew that game to Georgia, and they still gave them the number one in the country. And I get it; it's the AP coaches poll. It don't really matter. It mattered to me. I took that shit personally because my ones have done nothing but go out and dominate every week, and then they take our number one.
Fans, I promise you,
give it to Bama while we're on a bye week.
Fans, I promise y'all, I'm gonna let TP crash out on Thursday. I'm purposefully gonna set him up to crash out on Thursday. So just hang on, wait till Thursday. All right, man. We got to talk about WNBA because the Aces got bounced out the playoffs by the New York Liberty, and this been some get back for a couple of years that the Liberty been waiting to do. Asia is an amazing basketball player, but she didn't have, in saying all WNBA players is not help is crazy, but she didn't have a lot of support from her supporting cast. So that was why they had the season that they had.
We just expected more from Kelsey Plum and Jackie. They made plays in the game that they were able to win. But watching the post-game interview, I don't know, man. Kelsey Plum, she kind of takes everything, and her responses are very aggressive. Very aggressive when you ask her anything.
Yeah.
Let's go play basketball. That's it. Everything ain't a shot. Unless you want it to be a shot, so you have a reason to have a chip on your shoulder.
All right,
the chip on your shoulder should have been that the Liberty had a better in-season record than y'all going into the playoffs. They had been outperforming every other team in the WNBA. They also had a better record than y'all last year. Y'all just happened to make it. Y'all just happened to win when it came down to it in the playoffs. You can't use last year's success to dictate what's going to happen in the future. It doesn't work that way. Ask the 73-9 Warriors. Doesn't matter.
Nope.
Even during the regular season, yeah, go win your games. You're supposed to show up, but it's not a guarantee when it comes to the playoffs. And if you don't put your best game out there every night, you step on that floor, you run the potential of going home. And when you get yourself in a 2-0 deficit, the odds of you coming back, has it ever been done in the WNBA? No. But if you're chasing greatness, you got to break records, but they didn't break that one. You know, so shout out to them on an amazing season. Shout out to Asia Wilson for 1,000 points scored this year, which is an amazing feat. And you know, the all season you got a chance to get better. That's one thing about when you lose in the playoffs. Now you know your season is over. What can we do to be better?
So as we're talking, I'm doing research as we're talking, and I know better. I know there isn't a WNBA playoff game going, and the NHL is on. And no slight to the NHL, it's opening night. It's opening night. This is the WNBA playoffs. There is, how can I say this gently? There's no excuse that the WNBA isn't front and center. Now,
I think it is. It's on ESPN too. I don't know it's on ESPN right now, but
yeah, it's on too.
The NHL games on ESPN. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying then. I see what you're saying.
We got regular season NHL
playoff basketball
network, and WNBA is relegated to ESPN too. I don't know if they meant to do it that way, but you got to call a spade a spade.
And this is the semifinals game, right? So isn't this an elimination game, 2-2?
Yeah. It's the final game. Yeah, it's elimination.
Hey! It is her.
Hey, what's going on?
It is her, the Oracle. Hey, listen, I want to apologize. I get everybody nicknames. All nicknames are 99% positive, except old cornrows. That ain't a positive nickname. But 99% of nicknames is positive, and I have dubbed her the Oracle of HBCU basketball because she does the dirty work. That her and Herb, them my peoples. That's who I go to. So, first off, I want to introduce our fan base to the Oracle, Liv For Hoops. Check her out. Twitter, Instagram, all your HBCU basketball information. She's the lady to go to. Before we get this started, because y'all know I got this thing about media rights deal and everything, and I purposely put it out there earlier. It's rather interesting that the SWAC basketball media days and the MEAC basketball media days were on ESPN, whereas some of your other lower tier mid majors were not. It's always interesting to me. But I'm gonna get right into it. MEAC Media Day. You know I like the ladies that get buckets. Let's talk about Diamond. But again, Diamond Johnson. I just want to know, what are you expecting from Diamond this year? Uh-oh, it's in you muted.
Goes.
Yeah, you can.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So after she had to sit out those few games as the stuff with the NCAA and transfer rules was happening, she came in on fire, and I think her and Mimi are just a good dynamic duo. I think that they really excel next to each other. So I was actually surprised she got Player of the Year. I'm not going to lie. I would really just assume they'd give it back to the person who got it last year. And then, like, she's returning and she averaged a double-double. So I thought that was very interesting that she got Player of the Year. And I assume there was multiple names who received votes. I really want to see the breakdown of the points because I know there's specifically 2 other players who received votes for that. But I mean, she's a scorer, she's a bucket. She definitely enhances that Norfolk State team. They go as she goes. She's the point guard. She knows how to facilitate, score and spurts. So I'm sure it's going to be another exciting season of watching her grow with the team even more and just do what she does, which is score.
So we talked about Diamond. And I know you got the tea. Give me 2 players that we should be looking out for in the MEAC this year.
I mean, I have a lot more than just 2, but
I say swing away. Go.
One, of course, I cannot say her name is Kiara Mimi Wheeler. If you see me on Twitter, I call her Mimi a lot because that's what she likes to go by is Mimi, but her name is Kiara Wheeler. She was Player of the Year last year. She was extremely dominant all throughout the year, so I'm looking for another great season for her. A big name that people I've been seeing talk low-key kind of crazy about her is Destiny Howell from Howard. For people who don't do their research, don't know, right? She was the 2023 Player of the Year. She was 23-24 preseason Player of the Year until she got hurt. So people were very surprised that I had Howard finishing number 1, but she is that difference maker. In the 2 games that Howard lost to Norfolk, it was both single digits without her. They beat them one time without her. So she definitely is a difference maker. Prior to her injury, she was on multiple lists of potential HBCU players that could get drafted. She's just a straight up bucket. Like, she can go. So that's someone who I think everyone should obviously be excited for her return because she makes MEAC basketball exciting. Obviously, Layla Lawrence, who was Defensive Player of the Year last year. To me personally, she was heavily in the conversation for Player of the Year. Coppin really added amazing pieces around her, and they'll be super competitive. So I'm definitely excited to see how they look. But she's, again, her and Mimi, that battle is probably one of the best post battles that we'll see out of all mid-major hoops. The reigning Player of the Year versus the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Layla was like 0.3 or 4 off of averaging a double-double. So they both get rebounds.
She
they
got
both
it.
score.
She was averaging 10.4 rebounds. Yeah, she was getting it.
Yeah. So that's just the matchup I'm super excited there. I'm excited about is Bryant from North Carolina Central. She was at Media Day today. Last year, she was a freshman. She would show spurts of being that aggressive, confident player. And then sometimes what we see with freshmen, they start shying away when more responsibility is put on them. So she was a very up and down player, and I'm expecting a lot more from her this year. Sorry. So those are like 4 off the top of my head. There's a lot of teams that I have major question marks around because they completely reloaded, revamped. A few have new coaches. So their whole teams will look different. Even players' roles will look different with all the new transfers that certain teams brought in. But when we're talking about just players who are that make people want to watch, those are some that really stick out to me.
So I was looking at some of the schedules because I'm like, Troy, you got to get to some of these games. What are conference games that we should keep an eye on because they may be important. They may have great storylines. What are conference games that you would probably suggest a person like myself would go to?
Yeah. For MEAC,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So obviously, I think the number one is Howard versus Norfolk State. That's like you cannot miss if you want to see good competition, good game. Like, and at either house, I think at Howard is just a little different, just the way their gym is shaped. But that's like a must see game in my opinion. We'll say you'll hear me say Norfolk State a lot. Obviously, I touched on it, but Coppin State versus Norfolk State because of that post matchup battle between them. And another team I'm just really intrigued to see. Those are probably like the top two. Another team I'm intrigued to really see how they do is University of Maryland Eastern Shore. They do have a new coach, but they have 9 returners. And so I'm excited to see how they compete within the conference under a new head coach. And Morgan is the team that I'm like, I was thinking about putting them higher, but they brought in a lot of size, like a lot of size. And I think that will be a benefit to them. So they're a team I have circled with for the must watch games. It's definitely Norfolk State and Howard, and then Coppin State and Norfolk State.
All right. we're gonna take a quick break from that, and I'm gonna ask a question about the new coach on the highest of Seven Hills. I met Coach Crary at SWAC Media Day, and I'm pumped. But again, all things FAMU, it don't take much for me to get pumped. So I want to make sure I ain't in the clouds. But especially with this newest signing with the coach from Mount Verde, I'm excited. I'm excited. What are you expecting from that program?
I feel like I'm just a lot more level-headed. I've seen like the fandom that's come with, and I'm so happy because I do think he's really a coach who's talking that talk. He's also walking that walk. If you've seen him, he's been out the DC alumni chapter, the Dallas alumni chapter, the Cali alumni chapter. Like, he's doing what he needs to do as a brand new coach to make connections to, he asked for iPads and a TV for their practice stuff. People went behind him and they instantly were like, yep, we got it for you. So I do like that he has confidence in his team because I think that that's what people should do. You should come in and be confident. I'm intrigued to see how his style of play goes up against the SWAC. He's very open that his style of play is not like other SWAC teams. They're very analytical. They play by the numbers. And with SWAC basketball, we typically don't see a lot of that. I did tell him, I said, your post players have to step up because I feel like a lot of these successful teams for the men's side especially, whereas this is a guard heavy conference for men, like they all have scores, you need scores. Whoever's post player could be the most consistent, whatever their role is, whichever one bought into that role and was the most consistent, was the team that was the most successful. So I'm excited to see what he does. There's conversations that they will be in the top 6 based on how he's predicting. So we'll see. He's saying that practices are going well. I guess I'm just definitely a person as being a player. I need to see players when those lights come on. They got a lot of good signees, like the NAIA transfer, he was second in NIA in points per game. Like he could flat out score the ball. It's a different stage. I'm not saying he specifically, but it's a different stage when those lights come on, the pressure comes on, you put that FAMU jersey on, and then suddenly you're opening your conference game in Texas versus a Power 5 school. Like, I just got to see how they look once they get on the floor, because no coach is going to come into a system, whether they're a veteran, a newcomer, or anything, and be like, yeah, we're about to suck. Like, this is about to be a struggle fest. Like, you want to talk about confidence because you want your team to be confident. So I think they definitely have the guard play. I've been very honest that I think their post play is the biggest question mark I have for them. Eatman returning I just thought he was very lackluster and soft last season. He didn't give much when he was on the floor. But there's a new player there who is considered to be one of the top forwards in the conference. So I'm excited to see what he does. New fresh blood. It needed to happen. Like, we needed to get the previous coach out of there and get something new and fresh. Someone who had, ties to recruiting, which we've already seen. He's like put out like 12 to 15 offers already. So, I'm excited. I guess I'm not like everyone else. But
I'm not expecting nobody to be giddy like me. It's just when I sat down and I had a conversation with him, I'm like, well, I could ice these knees up and give him like 1.5 minutes a game. Like, I could do it. So
Yeah.
he's infectious. And give this man a contract. Just give him a contract.
Well, I will say if he does do well this season, he's definitely going to demand more money if FAMU wants to keep him next year. So they kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one, because as he should, like, they played in his face. So if he does well and FAMU wants to keep him, they're going to have to come off with that cash, and like, it's going to have to be worth it. So
I want FAMU to put their arms around him and show them the love that they showed me. But one more FAMU coach, and I absolutely love Coach Pressure. I didn't get a chance on Sweat MEAC Day to interview her because of my playing situation. But Coach Pressure seems to take, I want to say this gently, she takes rotten grapes and makes great wine. And she has a full year this time to actually put together a program. What should we be expecting from her?
It's kind of the same thing. With the women's side, it is very imperative that you need post play. Like, that's a non-negotiable when it comes to the SWAC women's side. When you look at the teams who, like even Jackson State, where Coach Reed went on, championship after championship after championship, she kept a double threat, like a both end post player on her roster. Those are my biggest concerns. I feel like you want me to be positive, but I'm gonna keep it real. Like, I can't help it.
No, I want you to be honest. I'm a fan, so you have to put me in a place to be level-headed.
Who's 6'5"?
She's definitely, that's my concern, because the one post player they brought in, I feel like she has a lot to prove. She came from like the most losing team in the NCAA. She didn't get a lot of minutes and she didn't play every single game through the season. So that's my area of question, is will their post players be able to defend and actually be an offensive threat? I think that the forward scoring guards they brought in will be very effective. I just think they need to establish how they're going to score this year with Grizzle's departure. They were very one-dimensional last year, relying on her heavily. There would be random games where Delancey would score, but then she'd go away for the next 3-4 games, and then no one else was giving anything. So I think if they establish those roles early of having consistent scorers, or even role players who can give you 6 to 10, they'll be competitive. I did have them finishing I think I had them at 5, finishing in the SWAC play, me personally, and then they were actually voted 5th as well by the coaches and the SIDs. So I feel like they'll be competitive. I think down the stretch, it will really just depend on their bench depth and their post play, because that was definitely an area of concern in many games last year. But I mean, she's moving in the right direction. I know she's happy that she had a full year to recruit her own kids and, get everything under her belt. So it should be another really competitive, exciting SWAC year for women's basketball.
All right. Now, I've done my due diligence for Marlo, so he can't say nothing. We all seen it. All right. So on the SWAC women's side, what players should we be on the lookout for?
I could literally go through every single team. So that's actually what I'm gonna do. In my head, I have like the map across the bottom. For anyone who follows me, like when I speak on Bethune, if you actually follow me and listen to what I say, you should know who I'm gonna talk about, and that's Kayla Clark. Like I'm so excited. She's healthy. I've been seeing the workout videos. She's been grinding in the gym. That is a player I am so excited about to see her back and fully healthy. Also, they disrespected Bethune on the rankings, but I'm gonna keep it at that. That was crazy putting them as low as they did. But definitely Kayla Clark. And then Bethune has a freshman that is high on my radar for being an impact player in my early, very extremely early rookie of the year. There's not many freshmen in the SWAC, but for sure Kayla Clark. When we go to FAMU, they have a lot of transfers I'm really just intrigued in. But I think for returning players, one that I'm very excited about is Sydney Hendricks. She was a freshman last year. She got hurt in the season, but she definitely has the pieces to be that sleeper player for them. That is a dual threat. She can guard bigger opponents. If she stretched her game out like I'm hearing she did, she should be a great addition. But I know people are already throwing out that their forward who was at SWAC Media Day, I can't remember her name, not Delancey, but the transfer, that she is going to end up being in conversations for player of the year. That's just the rumblings I'm hearing from certain people. So she's definitely someone to keep an eye out for. Then we move across the belt. We'll hop into Alabama. Alabama State, obviously Cordeja Harris. She battled injury last year, but look up her resume. What she did in JUCO was top notch. She was an All-American. And then even last season when they played DePaul, she had like 32 points. She's very efficient. I'm excited to see where her growth has gone this year. And then with Alabama A&M, they have a lot of transfers, but still SWAC players, as many players went with Coach Thornton to her school. But the one that I really have high hopes for, and she's an impact player, is Alicia Wilson, who was preseason Defensive Player of the Year. She's a very dimensional player. She can impact the game without scoring. She's extremely athletic, lanky. She impacts the floor a lot. And then Mississippi Valley, obviously Shadiman McKnight, who I think was gypped of making all SWAC team last year. They really disrespected her, especially considering she was top 5 in multiple categories, and they didn't finish last. So she's a player that everyone should watch. I'm hearing great things from their coach about how she's grown and she's ready for this season. And I won't go through every team, but I think the last one that everyone should be paying attention to is Jada Belton from Texas Southern. She is their post player. Last year, towards the middle of the season, she made a huge jump in just her aggressiveness, her ability to score in the paint. So she's a player I see making that big jump from her sophomore year to her junior year. But if we're talking about teams, the team everyone should be watching, I voted them number 1. They earned number 1, is Grambling. And people hate to hear me say that, but it's just the truth. Like, it's the truth.
They scored 500,000 points last year.
They did.
In one game.
I don't think that team's coming back to play them this year.
I don't blame them.
Oh my goodness. No, but they're just a team that is fun to watch because no player on their team averages more than 23 minutes. They all pretty much average like 6 to 12 points. They're very balanced. They press the whole game. They're just like fun basketball to watch because it's very high tempo, high energy. So they're a team I'm excited, a team overall that I'm excited and am definitely keeping an eye on this season.
All right. So I'm going to switch to the men's side.
Ugh.
Because I'm going to be honest with y'all. I got the SWAC Media Day and all the coaches were wonderful. They were great interviews. Mississippi Valley State, their coach, You ever met a person that's just like really like people talk about down south wholesome? He's a quiet down south wholesome guy. I don't play for him, so I don't know if he always quiet. But in the interview, he was down south wholesome. Met Coach Jones. Again, I'm fanboying as a fan. What players on the men's side are you looking out for?
With the SWAC men's side, it is very hard because it literally is transfer you. Like on that side, there's teams that have switched to a different SWAC team every single year. There's kids who leave the SWAC and then they realize the grass is not greener on the other side and they were riding that pine and they come on back. So with the men's side, I will be very honest, it's so hard to keep up because they just ship them in and out. They come and they go and they leave and then they come back. And but I will say at the top of my head, for sure, Shannon Grant. I've said this so many times. So he was a post player at FAMU last year. He was not utilized correctly by the coach at the time. They barely played through him, and he's a true dominant post. He's a big guy. He knows how to read the defense and kick it out when necessary. And I think under Coach Mo, he's going to thrive. And I definitely feel like he's going to come in kind of not on a revenge tour, but kind of like vengeance of being like, oh, everyone was like thinking I wasn't this when really I can be that. So I'm excited to see how he does through all of the play, because I really, really think Coach Mo knows how to utilize a post player correctly. We saw that last year with Jordan O'Neal. He was putting he just knows how to put post players in the perfect position to be successful at all times. So I really appreciate that, especially considering he was a guard, but like he just has a great basketball mind and he gets it. Another player is, why did I just forget? Oh, Kentavious Dozier. Obviously, he was preseason player of the year. Grambling is such a question mark for me, and he really is going to be the key. They brought in a lot of transfers, and from going to the tournament definitely helped them seal the deal on many transfers of being like, you saw what we did, we won a game. So I think he's going to be a key as just establishing like consistent scoring for them. He was that last year, but you need someone who's going to do it year after year after year after year. So I'm hoping he can be that. But then there is Antoine Burnett from Grambling, who he came off the bench last year, but he is like a guard forward. He goes in between depending on what they need. I do think he's a key. When you have so many transfers always coming in and out, the returners always have to be your consistent piece that establish your culture. They are the ones leading the new people. So those two are really key for Grambling. And then Chad Moody from Alabama A&M. He was Rookie of the Year last year. He made a preseason team, but I said, mind you, again, there's not many freshmen across the men and women's side in the SWAC. It's just junior and senior and graduate senior and 5th year and 6th year and 7th, 8th, 9th year player heavy. But last year, I thought he totally found himself and his team understood how dominant he could be, especially towards the end when they went on that stretch to get into the tournament and then they won to get to the semifinals. He is saying he stretched his game out. He's becoming more dynamic of a scorer. So he's someone I very much have my eyes on that will be so important for Alabama A&M, but we'll see. They also disrespected Alabama A&M with how low they put them. That was crazy. That was crazy because what? And that's how I'm like, SIDs need to stop voting. Especially on the men's side, it felt like coaches were voting out of their feelings and not out of what was real. And that's why I don't care about preseason, because it's basically, well, it felt like on the men's side, just a pissing contest and not like the truth. Because in no way, shape, or form should Alabama A&M have been as low as they were. I didn't care about anybody else. But them, it made sense. Valley was 12. Like everyone was like, duh. Like mind you, with all due respect, it's time for them to move on the men's side. It's time to move on. But that's neither here nor there. But it's time to find some fresh young blood that can, liven Valley basketball back up. But yeah, Alabama A&M being as low as they were, I thought was just very interesting because in the splits, there wasn't many teams that beat them twice. They split with a lot of teams. They got to the semifinals as the lower seed team. So, but preseason doesn't mean anything. So it's like, whatever. We see once they get in between those lines, because a lot of these people are not what they claim they are. So,
well, I'm because it just, I do my best to allow our guests to be themselves and try not to infect them with the show personality.
Oh, you can't affect me. So,
and so like you was like, you try, no, be 100% yourself, because that's why we had you on the show, because you had the information that we needed. Because again, like I said, I was in the fanboy and I was like, oh, these coaches are wonderful. And some of the coaches will actually have you believing that you can go out there and get 5 points a game. But so we talked about the men, but what I forgot to do is the SWAC women's games to watch this year. Give me the games that you would think would be games to watch and possibly us to actually go see in person.
It's this year is really hard. I would say obviously number one is a rivalry game, which is Bethune versus FAMU. I will always say go to that game, but honestly, you have to go at Bethune. Like, I hate to say that, their gym is so tiny that it makes the playing environment it makes it different. The fans are so engaged. Like, that's where you should, like, FAMU's gym is so big, like, it's ginormous. But Bethune's is just, it's like a hot box. So if you're looking for a fun, entertaining game, that's definitely where you should. You can laugh because it is, though. Like, I played there. It definitely is. We ain't got no AC either. So
the disrespect segment.
Anticipate sweating. Because my goodness. But then another game, I would say, if we're just going off of history and what we saw last year, I would say Grambling versus Southern. When they played at Southern last year, that was a great game. It came down to the wire. Kaya Wormsley hit that 3 at the end, and then Turner hit the free throws. Like, that game was crazy. I remember I was so mad their stream cut out when, like, if it was going into overtime or not. I was so upset. I was pissed because I was like, what happened? Where'd it go? But those two teams seem to play very well against each other. And then, I would, just for the fun of things, I'm going to say Alabama A&M versus Grambling, because I think those are two coaches that people really like and people just want to see play against each other. Because, I mean, obviously, like, a lot of people know Coach Thornton. She's, diva coach. She has that big personality. And then Coach Simmons came in last year on a tear through the conference, winning 20 games in a season, a postseason win, finishing second. Like, so I think those are good, fun coaches to watch. And then I'm trying to think of all the teams. There's so many. I don't want to say them, so I don't want to lie. I would say, as of right now, that's it for me. Obviously, I watch every single team, but for must-watch games, right now, that's it till I see, like, how the teams compete, the rosters, and how they're actually looking. Because a few times last year, Valley was actually really fun to watch, and they're entertaining. But also that's because their stream is entertaining, because their announcers are just so personable. So that might affect my decision. But those are, I think, games that I for sure have, like, circled and highlighted. And honestly, also FAMU versus Grambling. I know Grambling swept them last year, but all the games were very competitive. They went down to the wire, and both of those coaches are entering just their second year as a head coach. So that should be very exciting to see. I know I'm excited for that one. So,
all right. So we've been discussing WNBA.
please don't set me up for no psychos to come in my mentions.
No. I'm talking about the Aces and the Liberty series. That particular series. I mean, I'm a fan of Asia, and
as we all should be. Yes.
And again, if the WNBA comes out with a calendar, I'm buying it. I don't care. Just talk about me how you want to. This new WNBA, they got the marketing right. But that series, I was shocked, and I shouldn't have been, by Stewie and oh my God, I can't think of her name now. I just drew a blank. Sabrina Ionescu. I was shocked that they stepped it up and closed out the series, but this has been 3 years in the making.
Yeah, I think I was more disappointed than shocked. I think now the Aces front office is really seeing what everyone was saying all year. Like, they rely, yes, they have really good guard play, but they need more depth in their posts because that whole last game, they just kept doubling Asia, tripling Asia. On the touch, the catch, they were right there, sandwiching her. Like, you need other post players that Becky Hammond can trust. I think that's a big thing. She doesn't utilize her bench because she doesn't trust them. So I think with the Bay Area team coming, things are going to get super interesting to see who ends up on that team and the moves that the Aces make. And, it's cool. Like, Asia has 3 MVPs, so it's like she still has 2 championships, and she's younger than Stewie. So I'm like, you saw how she came back this season. I'm excited to see how she comes even next season because she said she hasn't even tapped into everything that she can do. So I think the Liberty just had more depth that they could rely on. And they used their bench more when they really needed to. So I think that was just the biggest difference maker. And I really, really hope the Aces front office looks at themselves and, like, yes, the Liberty was built. They built that team to beat the Aces. So they should have beat them. Like, it took you this long. Cool. You got it. But now it's time to recalibrate and bring in people that are going to get you back to that championship contention.
Yeah, that was a very good point that I think you made about their post play because, like, in the past they had Derica, hopefully if I'm saying her name right, she went to LA, and Kia, she's cool defensively, she's probably cool, but she's not really a threat in the post as some of these other people are. So they could just kind of, like they do in the NBA, just play off of her and just double Asia. So it's making it easy. And John Quell and Stu, like, that's just not fair. That's just not fair. So, like you said, they were built to beat them. Okay, cool. But Ace has got to turn it up now.
Exactly.
All right, so I'm gonna get on my soapbox.
Oh Lord.
We're coming into SWAC. Go ahead, TP.
Sure. Before you do that, I need to know the prediction because it looked like the Lynx got this game pretty much wrapped up. So Lynx versus Liberty. What do we think happened?
I felt like that was a storyline they wanted anyway. But I will say the Liberty struggled with the Lynx all season long. They did. They struggled with them. The Lynx, just like, for some reason, they were there. Like, they're one of their kryptonites. They were very competitive. I think it will be interesting. I definitely think it will go to 5. It will for sure go to 5. I think it will come down to how all the role players do. If we saw in the game that the Aces beat New York, they completely took Sabrina Ionescu out of the game. And I think that the Lynx have even better defensive options to put on her and take her out. So I really do think the Lynx have the pieces in order to win the whole thing. Obviously, the most pressure is on the Liberty. Like, they're the ones having this great season. They're the number one seed. The pressure's all on them. If they win, you were supposed to. Round of applause. You were supposed to win. But like the Lynx can go out there, they can just play their game. Cheryl Reeves is an amazing coach. And I think Courtney Williams was the best get in the offseason for any WNBA team. Their point guard, Courtney Williams, is just such a great facilitator. She reads the floor so well. So I think it's going to definitely be a battle. My gut's just telling me the Lynx are going to be back with another championship ring to Minneapolis.
Nice.
Because the Liberty are just always the first place losers. Like, that's just kind of.
So we're going same story, different year.
Right. It's not your year. Like, let's just give Fee her ring and let's move on.
Got you.
All right, so I'm setting you up because I'm a New York Knicks fan. And the New York Knicks made a trade. And they gave up White Dante in the trade. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling hurt. Because there was no reason to give up White Dante for a bag of potatoes. Am I wrong for feeling that way?
I felt that the trade was horrible. For me, it didn't make sense for the Timberwolves. Everyone knew last season that was Ant's team, and I think Kat finally got on board that this was Anthony Edwards' team, and that's why we saw them get so deep to the Western Conference Finals last season. Mind you, I'm not a fan of Julius Randle. I think he is one of the most selfish players I've ever seen play basketball. All he cares about is himself. You see him mentally check out of games when his shot's not falling, when they're not passing him ball. He is a big old baby who just pouts around the floor. And then he says he doesn't want to play. He sits on the bench. I truly believe that man is a cancer to teams from what I see on the outside by his actions and his body language. I don't understand why they thought bringing him in was going to make them an even more of a championship contender. From what I'm hearing, it was to give Ant more guaranteed money because he is the long term. Like, keeping him was the long term. So you give up Kat to get two kind of smaller salaries. For sure, DiVincenzo is a smaller salary, but they did that to offer Ant more money because he is who they want to, they're never, I don't know who would ever be good enough to trade, but he's a player to me. I feel like they're just their foundation on for the long term, but it just didn't make sense to me. I don't like it. I think, mind you, I'm not a Cat fan either. I'm just he just bothers me. The way he plays basketball just bothers me. What lives in my head rent free is when Ben Simmons was choking him out on the floor, and I'm like, that's what he needs to be remembered for forever. Like, he had him in the headlock on the floor. He was patting the floor for air. Like, he's so soft. He's always crying. Like, I don't know. I do think the other acquisitions that New York made, I do like that. I just don't see it, because basically the Knicks should have been building a team to beat the Celtics. And someone made a video of what the Celtics did at practice the next day, and it was them doing it was like some kid game. They were like doing like an egg toss or something. And they were like, when they thought they were going to beat us with that roster, like, no one's scared of Karl Anthony Towns. And now they're wanting to give up. They're trying to ship out Mitchell Robinson, which I think is foolish. I think he is high reward, low risk. I know that he's unhappy though. He be telling all his business on social media. He wants a bigger role, but like, you're not that guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your agent needs to bring you back down. You are a great role player and you will have a long career in the NBA if you just stick to that. I'm not impressed, but we'll see if, they can get Julius Randle's ego under control. And because that's someone new who's a veteran over Ant that you have to be like, this is Anthony Edwards' team. This is no one else but his team. Like, he's the first option. He's the first go-to. And they said they wanted to build Naz Reid up, which I think is great. I thought he should have played more last season. But, they should have got rid of Gobert, but no one wants him. So
I've been saying it all year. Okay, defensive player of the year multiple times, but he's every team's first option to go against.
all
It
the
doesn't
time.
like it doesn't add up. If that is the best defensive player in the league, the other team shouldn't go, hey, he got Rudy on him. He's sweet. Give him the ball.
The PNR always.
That can't be that just tells me that they need to move away from him. And then with the way Anthony Edwards plays, he clogs up the lane.
Mm-hmm.
So I get bringing in Julius Randle because he's a more perimeter player, but he's also a ball.
Is he though?
I mean, it's
no. I think they truly did that to just test something.
He thinks he's a perimeter player, I would say.
He loves that baseline mid-range and throwing up some jack with his left hand. That's what he loves to do. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, he's not a catch and shoot. He wants to dribble the ball, and he wants to be a ball dominant type player, which isn't going to work. And I thought the best thing that happened to the Knicks last year was him not being on the floor, because that allowed Jalen Brunson to really take over games. But I don't think Tom Thibodeau understands how to really use a bench. He never has. He just runs his starters into the ground.
Yes.
They should have built more depth, get some more post players, somebody who can catch rebounds, because they were maybe 2 games away from going to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like they really, close. Yeah, they were there, but injuries derailed the season.
Thibodeau has to be stopped. He is a madman. He has to be.
He won't. I don't know how he keeps getting the job.
Littered. Uh-oh. I made the Knicks mad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Knicks. I'm sorry.
I mean, he's a good defensive coach.
Still.
For what it is, he is a good defensive coach. But he just overplays his starters. He doesn't utilize the bench. He doesn't build up a bench that's going to be, anything to be feared come playoff time. So, you know what you're going to get looking at the Knicks roster from day one.
Well, I'll say this. I am glad that Liv has come here and vindicated me on my cat slander, because y'all made me out to be the bad guy, and I knew I was not the bad guy. That dude is Charmin, and he always been Charmin.
I literally call him kitty cat. Like, I can't. I just can't.
You know the Timberwolves got a problem when both of your big men get choked out on the floor.
Exactly. And your international player wasn't even in the rotation in the Olympics. They benched the Team France benched Rudy Gobert. I'm sorry. I need defensive player of the year. People who vote on stuff need to actually be able to watch games. That goes for college, NBA. Blocks do not equal defensive player of the year. Yes, it's great. Cool. You're that big. You should be able to block shots. But like he said, if every time they see Rudy Gobert, they're trying to put him in a PNR and they're looking at him like he's food. Like, they're like, I'm about to eat, because he's just not, he's not that guy. And now he feels like he is because they gave him that award. He didn't deserve it. He's just, they go at him all the time. Like, and what did Draymond Green say about him? They were like, people look at, he literally just did some interview because, he doesn't care. Draymond does not care. He said that nobody in the NBA from what I'm remembering. So if Draymond sees this and you didn't say that, I'm sorry. But I swear he said something along the lines of nobody in the NBA likes Rudy Gobert. And every time they play against him, want to like mess him up because nobody messes with him. And I'm like, I can see that. Like, you don't see nobody dapping him up after games. Like, it's no brotherly love between him and anybody. Like, he's literally, that's what, when they traded for him and gave all those picks, all that money, I was like, for what? Now no one ever is going to take over that contract because he's just not worth the money. Especially with all the influx of really good posts. I'm sorry, Valanciunas is a better post player than him. Like, I'm not lying. Clint Capella is way better than him.
Valanciunas green.
No, he can play. He can play. I would even say, and like people are gonna think I'm crazy, but I like post players who know their roles and like they just do it well. They do what they need to do. Even Plumlee for the Hornets. I mean, is he old? But he knows how to play off LaMelo the way LaMelo needs him to play off of him. Like, he knows when to pop, and he'll at least shoot it one time. Rudy Gobert is such a bottom-tier post player to me. It's not even funny. How he gets paid all this money to be going up and down the floor to get scored on, it pisses me off. And being from Minnesota, I want to support them so bad. But they just make stupid decisions. Like, y'all done got
I feel vindicated because I've been saying these things for years. Don't like him. I don't like the fact that he keeps winning Defensive Player of the Year. They robbed Wembley. They robbed Giannis last year. Every year they want to give this man a Defensive Player of the Year because he got a lot of blocks. But that's because everybody is testing him.
100%. Who do you know that's a real big man that every time they go in the lane, they're trying to take off on him? Like, his big, lanky butt, and they're trying to dunk on him every single time because they're like,
he's sweet.
This is the Liv Vindicated Us show.
Like, it's like even Jaren Jackson is such a better defender because he can at least switch and guard on the perimeter. Like, he is a dual threat defensive player, but I think guards, and this is even college, because my pick for defensive player last year in the SWAC was a guard for women because I actually like watched the games. And this is no shade to any players who earned it, but like when you have to watch the game to see like how people defend people. It's not always going to be blocks. It's going to be every time they were on the best player, what was their field goal percentage? How many times did they pass the ball because they couldn't handle that pressure? And so I think especially in the NBA, that's why Marcus Smart feels slighted so much because it's always post players. It's always Rudy Gobert, Bam Adebayo, now Jaren Jackson, Giannis, which honestly, all but Rudy, they can actually defend. Like, they can. But guards are just always so slighted because it's like, that's the expectation. And so a post player who suddenly starts blocking shots and getting rebounds, like, oh, he's a newcomer. Now he's etched in the history books. I can't believe they did that to the NBA.
We beat a baby seal tonight.
I can't believe they did that.
Like you said, there are different ways to defend outside of the paint. And Wembley he did that this year. He was guard, he could switch, he guarded guards. He guarded centers. It didn't matter. And I feel like he really should have won.
I think his time is coming.
Right, yeah, also, don't worry. He going to accept that.
But many people were saying Chet should have won Rookie of the Year.
All right.
You know,
so now
I'm going to bring up my Minnesotan brother because us Minnesotans have to stand together.
He played well, too.
We're not doing that because Chet had one job when he came in as a rookie. Do not take a charge from LeBron James. If you see the train coming, get off the tracks.
It was a freak accident. I
feel like it was like the thing of flight, fight, or freeze, and that boy just froze. Like, he didn't know what to do. He was like, oh my gosh. And then he just got hit.
maybe he was just in awe because it was LeBron. You know, the first time on the court with LeBron James, you might have been starstruck. You never know. He didn't know how to react to the situation. He was unaware. But
Again, I say, stop listening to Outcasts. It is okay to walk away. It is okay to walk away.
but I will say I like what Oklahoma City has done. They have built a very talented young roster. I think they had the youngest roster in the league and had the best
Last
record in
few
the West.
seasons.
Yeah, so I feel like going forward, they have a lot of guys under rookie contracts. They're not so heavily saturated in the salary cap department, so they should be able to be successful for a long time with Chad and Shy. I feel like they can, they can get to a point where they're dominating in the West. And I think the Timberwolves took a step backwards. So
They definitely, what I love about the OKC front office is they just trusted the process. Like they got all those young players. They wanted to keep that core. And to be honest, Shea was ripped last season. I'm sorry. He definitely, like, Jokic just did not deserve MVP last season. I don't care. If you look at,
Why y'all do Jigglypuff like that?
No, I love Jokic, but if you look at what Shea did with the Ross, he's literally playing with G League players and 18-year-olds. And he got them to be, what were they, the number 2 seed in the West? And it was Denver, the Timberwolves, and OKC that were decided by point differential for that number 1 spot. Like, he definitely deserved it last year because who you play with matters. Like, he legit, they're like 3 of their starting 5 were just in the G League last year. And then they come in and he like completely changes the program. I don't know. The team, they're not a program, the team, the organization, but I think they'll be really good this year. Their front office is so smart. They're just a really good front office. They don't they don't bite out what's new or what's like shiny. They're like, let's just trust what fits our team. Like, it doesn't matter about the other stuff. Who's going to fit the group we have under this coaching style and like elevate it even more?
All right. So it is that time of the night, y'all. We're going to do our closing statements. Because we have an esteemed guest, we're going to let Liv have the first go round.
Okay. One, make sure you support HBCU basketball this season. There's so many good games. There's so many talented players. Like, honestly, just watch. Maybe not in the non-conference for some teams because they be getting waxed, but for other teams, they're actually competitive and they know how to play. But it's definitely worth, investing, especially if you are an HBCU alum or if you're just a Black person or if you just like good basketball. You should be watching HBCU basketball. And then follow me on Twitter specifically. That's where I'm the most active. It's Liv For Hoops. But make sure you're supporting because if we can do our part to help these players get to the next level, I feel like that's just kind of what the goal is. We have so many talented people who are now making, I don't know if anyone saw, a player from Texas Southern got signed to the Hawks. He was on the Lakers G League team, dominated. He took his opportunity and his chance, and now he got signed to the Hawks. Not a two-way, but the Hawks. So the more we talk about our players, we promote, we tweet at them, we like their content, like the more people will start to respect HBCUs and like the product that we're putting out. So, and that's coming from a former player. So
draft our kids, damn it.
Statement.
TP.
Oh, I got to talk about my Texans, man. We got Josh Allen coming into town. He thought he was about to just, I don't know what he thought, but it didn't work. It was not a good game for him. Our defense really stepped it up. If it wasn't for a couple turnovers, untimely turnovers, one that almost cost us the game, it would have been a blowout. But I'll take our 4-1 record. We're just waiting on Joe Mixon to get healthy, and we're going to make our playoff push. I think Nico had like a little bit of a hamstring thing going on, but he'll be all right. And shout out to Alabama. Thank you. Thank you for being terrible. Losing to Vandy cannot happen. But it did, and my Longhorns are back number one, as it should be, as it should have been. But I'll have more to talk about that on Thursday. That's my time for the week.
Little guy. DK.
Quickly, my Jaguars finally got a win. We were the last winless team in the NFL, so we were not going to go winless, thank God. So just quick on them. And kind of just piggybacking off of Liv, just kind of something that I've been delving into just in general over the years, delving into different sports, men's and women's. When the Olympics was going on, delving into different areas of, or I guess they're sports, right? Different sports that I just wouldn't even typically watch. Like with the swimming, diving, and some of the even like going deeper into some of the track events as well. So I think that's what I'm going to do in terms of like diving deeper into the HBCUs, specifically more so on the women's side, because the men's side, you get the feel of some of these teams when they go to play the bigger conferences and they're in some of these earlier tournaments. So I think that's what I'm gonna go do, and I advise everybody else to go do. I'm more of a better, so like I'll tend to watch some of the games that people won't typically watch. But I appreciate Liv coming on today and kind of dropping knowledge. I'm over here looking at the teams and looking at each one of the players. I'm like, oh wow, like that's a hooper. Like that's a real hooper, and we don't really like. We're always looking to the Dukes. And now with Iowa, right, with Caitlin and all the guys on the men's side, the USCs and Juju, right? But there's hoopers. I'm looking at the numbers, going through the game logs, and we all know as people that have played sports, just looking at the box score doesn't tell the entire story. So that's something that I'm actually wanting to get into. So thank you, Liv, for coming on and dropping that knowledge on us.
Whew. All right. So first off, for everybody that is in the cone of Hurricane Milton, please evacuate, get safe. I am in a elevated area, so I'm good right now. Should it not be, I'm out. So I saw on Twitter that a young lady said, well, everybody can't afford to leave. Call emergency services. They have resources for you to get out. If you do have dialysis, if you have not done them today or tomorrow morning, or that you get in contact with the local hospital if you need your dialysis done. That being said, it has been a very long, trying season for me. Had it not been for FAMU, I would have probably had a stroke right now. I get to watch that School of Engineers in Nashville knock off the #1 team in the nation, and we can't beat Georgia Tech. Not because we don't have the talent, not because we didn't spend the money to get the facilities, but because our head coach was playing the wrong quarterback the entire season. And I ain't never liked dude. From the day we hired him, I ain't never liked dude. And then you go out there against Clemson, and for a quarter and a half, actually look like you can play some football. But I'm supposed to be the voice of reason to say, no, give him another year. No, it's the offensive coordinator. Let me tell you something. For all y'all cross Game Street that keep hollering about all these other coaches get the blame, shit rolled downhill. The shit started at the top, and that's where we need to lop it off at. It is time to clean house. Enough is enough. If FAMU can win a Black National Championship with the resources they got, hundreds of millions of dollars. But I got to deal with this because the booster who didn't want certain type of coaches to be their head coach hijacked the athletic director's job, because we were supposed to hire that dude from Louisville. Hijacked the athletic director's job, then gave an extension to a losing coach, and then gave him another extension based on a rumor that Alabama wanted him. Let me tell you something. Alabama could have had him. I would have started a GoFundMe to get him out of Dodge. I might start one anyway. But again, for all y'all people who have now joined the dark side and agree with me, I still feel kind of nervous. I wouldn't talk to y'all in the bar, but now y'all want to agree with me. Think about it. That is my time. Thank Liv for coming out to the Madness Basketball Podcast.
Appreciate you.
For everyone watching, stay safe and good night.
Now, this year with the change in the scheduling with the men's and women's, how can the fans help the team win home games?
Show up, okay? And now they have to show up. If we got to play well, okay? I can't expect them to come to see us play on a Monday. You know how hard it is to go to a game at 7 o'clock on a Monday if they don't think that we're going to be good. If they don't think that we're going to perform and show them a good time. Sports is also a form of entertainment. They want to be entertained. And so we hope the way we play basketball, fast, fun, physical, it's an entertaining way to play. So, for us to do our job and then ask our fans to do their job. And Rattler Nation, there's no prouder fan base in the SWAC. We brag different. I mean, it's what we do.
Absolutely.
And so, just everybody coming, and we're gonna have open practice. We have a football game on Saturday, so we're gonna have an open practice. We haven't really you're the first person to know this. We're gonna have an open practice for a football game. Just try to build the fan base a little bit so they can kind of see what we're doing, see how we go about our business, and build more relationships on campus and in the Tallahassee community.